Tonight, I have...
Sorry, I forgot something.
Oh yes, that will help. Emma forgot something. Let's give Emma a big hand. Emma never forgets anything. So my talk tonight is about kids in the Bible. Kids in the Bible. And I've got two stories to tell you. Two stories. One of the stories comes from a children's book, and it's not really true. The other one comes from the Bible, and it really is true. Okay? But both stories have a very good meaning. And so I was thinking about what to share tonight and today, and I really felt like God put this on my heart to share because I think it's really, really, really important. So, with all the things that are going on in the world today, I think what I'm sharing tonight is really, really important. So, first of all, the story from the children's book story. And hopefully you children can help me a little bit in this story. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children here. So you all have to help, okay? Is that alright? You all have to help. Now, a long time ago, there was a woman. And this woman, her job was selling hats.
Hats for sale! Hats for sale! Hats for sale! No,
Hats for sale!
Hats for sale!
Yeah, hats for sale!
Hats for sale!
Well, this lady, she was very, very different because her hats, she didn't keep them in a bag.
No, I don't.
No. Do you know where she kept her hats? On her head. Oh, on her head. All her hats were on her head. That's where she kept them. And she was very careful not to drop them. There they all are. Oh, there they are, you see.
Hats for sale!
Hold on, stay there, Mr. So we need 5 children to come and sit up here on the stage. 1, just up here, sit up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 5. If you don't come, your mother and father have to come. 4. Is someone feeling childlike tonight? Oh, here's a big child. Very good. Well, here's what happened. The hat selling lady, she went all the way around to another village.
Hats for sale! Hats for sale! Hats for sale!
It was a long way.
Yeah, very long.
And she was getting very tired. And it was very hot.
Oh, so hot!
And she was halfway there.
Halfway.
And she got so tired she sat down near a big tree, watching the other way, and she went to sleep. Wow. You know, these ones up here, they snuck over. Oh. Here they are. Sit down over here. So after a long time, she woke up. And she stood up. Carefully, not to drop her hats.
Oh, yes.
Because she only had one hat left. What happened to the hats?
What happened to the hats?
Do you know what happened? 5 naughty monkeys had stolen her hats. And here they are. They all stood up. All the naughty monkeys stood up. Okay. So the lady then with the hat, she wagged her finger and she said, "Give me back my hats."
Give me back my hat.
And what did the monkeys do? What did the monkeys do? Like that. Well, she was pretty upset. So she shook her fist.
Give me back my hat.
What did the monkeys do? Yeah. So she was so angry, she stamped her foot.
Give me back my hat.
And then, put your hats on. Then, see that? Did you know what happens?
Yes.
What does she do?
Give me back my hat.
Oh, and so all the monkeys.
Down.
And she was able to pick up all her hats and put them on her head. You have to put it on your head first. It's white. And she kicked on the journey.
Okay. Hats for sale. Hats
All the
for
monkeys
sale.
were home, but the monkeys didn't have any hats left. And let's just give them a big hand, huh? So, what is the meaning of the story? What is the meaning of the story? Monkey see, monkey do. Let's all say it together, huh? Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see, monkey do. Well, fortunately, we are not monkeys. This is what a monkey looks like. That's what a monkey looks like. That's a monkey. We are not monkeys. We are human beings, right? We are people. We are boys and we are girls, and we don't have to behave like a monkey. We can choose. We can think. We can decide. We can see what's good and we can see what's bad. We have God. We have conscience. We can listen to our conscience. We have wisdom that we can think. We have parents who help us to make good decisions. We have the Bible that God speaks to us, and we have the Holy Spirit. Right? So we're not monkeys. We have all these things over here. We don't just see and do. Sometimes the government or our friends or the media or our teachers will say things. We don't have to follow them. We don't have to copy them, do we? Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not right. We have to think about it. We have to decide. We have to choose. Sometimes over here, the things that we are told, the things that we see are good. They're good, but sometimes they're not good. Let me show you an example. I've got lots of examples. I could talk about a lot of things tonight, but I'll only talk about one thing. I'll talk about our teachers. Our teachers, all right? So when we go to school, our teachers tell us things, and sometimes they tell us things that are true. 2 + 2 equals... That's true, isn't it? That's correct. Or 6 × 3 equals...
9.
Who said 9? 6 × 3 equals... Yes, that's true. 6 × 3 equals 8. But imagine if your teacher told you, imagine if they said, a boy can become a girl, or a girl can become a boy. Is that true? Is that really true? Can a boy really become a girl? Can a girl really become a boy? This morning when I was doing this talk, there was a little girl, she was 4 years old. And she was sitting down in the front. And I said, can a boy really become a girl? And she said, no. Can a girl become a boy? No! I talked to her mum afterwards. I said, she's 4 years old. Does she know what I was talking about? Or she said, no, I think she knew what you were talking about. I think she knew. This is what it's called. It's a very, very big word. It's called transgender. Okay, can you really change your gender? So if your teacher was to tell you, wow, a boy can become a girl or a girl can become a boy. You have to ask, is that really true? Is that really true? You know, there was a guy 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, I have become transracial. Transracial, I've changed my race. And his name is Ollie London. And he is an influencer, so-called, from England. And he said, I used to be white, but now I am Korean. That's what he said. He said, I used to be a Caucasian, a white person, but I really love Korea. He loves Korean culture. He loves K-pop. He loves Korean barbecue. He loves kimchi. And he loves everything about Korea. And so he spent £100,000, 200,000 New Zealand dollars on his plastic surgery to make himself look more Korean. And then he came on the internet a couple of weeks ago and said, I am Korean. I love Korea. I feel that Korea is my home. And so I have become Korean. It was very interesting. He got a lot of response. And a lot of people seemed to be mad and crazy. But the people who were saying that were mainly people who believe in transgenderism. And he was saying, why are you criticizing me? I'm just being who I am. Why are you hurting me? I just want to be who I really am. I'm Korean. What's wrong with that? I mean, is it possible? Is it possible to change your race? Is it possible for a white person to become a Korean? Is it possible for a Chinese to become a white person? Is it possible for me to become Chinese?
No.
I don't think so. And do you know what? They even have a thing now called trans-species. Trans-species. People say, well, if you can change your gender and you can change your race, I want to change my species. And it's actually a true thing. It is actually a real thing. There are some people who say, I'm a cat. I was born in the wrong body. I'm really a cat, but I was born in a human body. And they dress like cats, and they act like cats, and they talk like cats. You know, meow, meow. I'm not sure if they eat cat food, but there are people, honest, this is true, I'm not joking, there are really people who think that they are cat. So if you're a teacher, or someone said to you, can people really be trans-species? You say, no. Can people really be transracial? Can they change their race? You know, can I become a Maori person? I was not born Maori. I was born Caucasian. That's the way I am. Can a person really? Can a boy become a girl?
No.
I mean, I can put on a dress. I can put on some lipstick. I don't have much to wear. I can put on a wig. And I can say, I'm a girl. But actually, I'm really a boy. I'm really a man. And you can't change. So what I'm saying is, even if your teacher tells you certain things, it doesn't mean that they're true. It doesn't mean that monkey see, monkey do. You know, maybe the teacher says, no, boys can become girls. And the government says, oh no, boys can become girls. And the media, they say, oh, boys can become girls. And even your friends, maybe your friends say it. But that doesn't mean that it's true. And it doesn't mean that you just monkey see, monkey do. We've got a brain, we can think. We can think. In life, there are many choices that we have to make. We all have to make our choices. And it's very important that we make the right choice, because God has given us a free will. And that's one of the things that makes us special about being human, is that we have a choice. And boys and girls, every boy and girl has to make choices, every man and woman. One of the choices that many children have to make is, am I going to do this, or am I going to do this? You know? And you have to choose. Am I going to just play games all day and all night, or am I going to do my homework? Because if you choose this one, if you choose that one, your life will probably go like that, probably. But if you choose this one, your life will probably go like that. Probably. You agree?
Yes.
You know? And so we make our choice. We all have to make a choice in our life. So the second story that I want to talk about is from the Bible. And this is a story about 4 boys who had a very important choice to make in their life. And the question was, were they going to be monkey see, monkey do, or were they going to think and do what God wanted them to do? So this is a story about Daniel. You may know the stories from the Bible. And Daniel and his 4 friends. So I want us to read a little bit of it. It's from chapter 1, first part of Daniel. So can we read together in English? In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylon, and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they were to enter the king's service. Among those who were chosen were some from Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belshazzar. To Hananiah, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. What a hard names there. Now what we just read from the Bible is actually true. It's called historical narrative. Narrative being a story, historical being true. Because we know that Jerusalem, let's talk about Jerusalem here. Jerusalem was a real place. This is what it probably used to look like. But now you can go there yourself. It's a real place. Babylon was a real place. It was a real city. It was very, very beautiful. This is the tower, okay? The Tower of Babel. It's all gone now. It's just sand. There's nothing left. But there was, in those days, a great city called Babylon. So what happened was the king of Babylon, all these ones, he attacked Jerusalem. He attacked the city of Jerusalem, and they defeated the people of Jerusalem, and then they carried them off from Judah, from Jerusalem over here. They carried them off over here to Babylon, over here somewhere. So there were actually three waves of defeat. So this is probably talking about one of the first waves. So they took many of the people from over here, and they took them back to Babylon. And so Daniel and his 3 friends were part of that, what is called the exile. This happened about 600 years before Christ. And do you know how long the people were over here in Babylon? How long? 70 years. And then they were able to come back with Nehemiah and Ezra and rebuild their land, their nation. So what happened was the king of Babylon, he wanted the young, handsome, clever boys to be trained in the ways of Babylon so they could serve the kingdom of Babylon. The young, the handsome, and the clever, to learn the literature, to learn the ways, so they could serve and build up the kingdom of Babylon. There were many, probably many of these young men, but we're only told about four of them. They were probably somewhere between 14, 15, 16 years old, around that age. And it says here that the chief official, he gave them new names. So these names are quite hard to pronounce. Daniel was called Belshazzar, and there are the other names that they were given. Do you know why they gave them new names? What was the first thing they did to give them a new name? To
honor their gods, maybe?
To change them. They wanted to take these Jewish boys and change them to be Babylonians. And the first thing they did was they gave them a new name. And I always forget these names. So one of my friends, he told me how to remember. He said, Shadrach is shaky bed, Meshach is make your bed, and Abednego is Abednego. Okay, so shake your bed, make your bed, and Abednego. If you can never remember their names, there you go. There you go. Shake your bed, make your bed, and Abednego. So Daniel's name means God is my judge. So when Daniel was born, his mum, beautiful baby, I'll call him Daniel. I'll call him God is your judge. So they changed his name to Belshazzar. And Bel, or Baal, was a god, the god of the Babylonians. And Belshazzar means the prince of Babel. So they wanted to change their thinking, change their language, change their culture, change their religion, and to make them into new people who would be Babylonians and who would serve the king of Babylon. They wanted them to talk like Babylonians, to think like Babylonians, to behave like Babylonians, and to look like Babylonians, and to build the kingdom. So what they did, the first thing that they did for them, they assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. And they were to be trained for 3 years, and after that to enter the king's service. So Daniel and his 3 friends, they had a choice to make. Were they going to become Babylonians, or were they going to stay Jewish boys? Were they going to get a new god, or were they going to keep their old god? Were they going to go the Babylonian way, or were they going to go the right way? And so what we'll do, we'll read what happened next. It's a little bit long. It's good to read. It's from 8. Let's read together. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the law of food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the official to show favour and compassion to Daniel. But the official told Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king will then have my head because of you. Daniel then said to the guard whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier
and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables instead. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning, and Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into his service, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and he found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. And Daniel remained there until the first year of King Cyrus. So that was actually 70 years. 70 years Daniel served in Babylon. He actually became Prime Minister, if you know the story. So what happened was, the king assigned them all the good food to eat. He said, okay boys, come in here and eat all this yummy food. But Daniel, he didn't want to eat this food. Daniel and his 3 friends, they said, no, we're not going to eat this food. It's in verse 8. He said, we're not going to defile ourselves, because they would have really believed that this food was offered to idols. It had probably been offered to their gods, and so they didn't want to eat it. And the other reason they didn't want to eat it is because in the Bible, in the Old Testament, a number of these foods were banned for the Jewish people. Pork, seafood, they couldn't eat those things. So Daniel said to the guy who was looking after him, he said, please don't make us eat this food. And the guy said, you have to. He said, please, no, we don't want to eat it. He said, look, if you don't eat it, the king will find out, then I'll be in trouble and he'll my head off. And Daniel said, look, test us. Give us a test for 10 days. Just give us vegetables and water. Just give us vegetables and water. So this was the choice that they had. Were they going to eat all this fancy food and this fancy drink? Or were they going to have bak choy, Chinese vegetables? That was the choice that they had. And it seems like all the other boys who were there, they seem to have eaten this. But Daniel and his 3 friends refused to compromise, even though they were getting a lot of pressure. I mean, the king was pressuring them, the government. And you need to eat this. You need to take this. You need to do this. Eat it. And probably the other friends would say, we're in a new country, it's okay, just eat it. And they were getting a lot of pressure to do this. But they needed to choose wisely, because their choice would affect their future in a very big way. And we today, we face choices, important choices. And it's not the time to be monkey see, monkey do. It's not the time to just do what others are doing. It's not the time to not think about these things. And we need to really think and make choices that are good for ourselves and good for our family. So they chose the right thing. They chose the vegetables. And at the end of 10 days, they look better and more healthy than the other guys. They look better. So the guard, he took away their fancy food and he gave them vegetables and water. And they ate that. And then after 3 years of study and eating, God gave them knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. So they probably studied hard for 3 years. It was their university years. They studied hard, but more than that, God blessed them, because they did what was right. And God blessed those 4 young men. And He gave them wisdom and understanding. And so when it came time for the exam, after 3 years, it came time for them to stand before the king and to be examined. It says that the king found none equal to Daniel and his 3 friends. And so they entered the king's service. And in every matter of wisdom and understanding, he found them 10 times better than even the enchanters and magicians that he had in his kingdom. 10 times better. So it wasn't just an A+, okay? When they had the exam after 3 years, they didn't just get A+, they got A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ 10 times. Because God had blessed them. You know, you can go to school and you can get a lot of knowledge and you can get a lot of skills, but what you really need is wisdom and understanding. How to apply that knowledge, how to use those skills in the right way. And wisdom and understanding come from God. You don't get that in the university. You know, there's a lot of people go to university and they come out with lots of degrees and they have no common sense. Really. They don't know, they don't understand, they're not wise. But wisdom and understanding comes from God. And God bless these young men. We don't really know what happened to all the other boys, but we know what happened to Daniel and his 3 friends. And they were promoted. Daniel actually became the prime minister of the whole empire. And he rose to the top position. And his words and his deeds are here in the Bible for us today. And it's an incredible thing that 2,500 years after this span, people today still talk about him, and still learn from him, and still are reading his words and his what he did. So, what we choose for our life, day by day, has a profound and deep effect on our journey in life. And we are all faced with many decisions and choices, even like today. And it's a wonderful thing, I think, that as Christians, we can learn from over here, yeah, some good things, but not everything. Not everything the government tells you is true. Not everything you read on social media is true. Not everything your teachers tell you is true. But over here as Christians, we have God who's given us a conscience, and God gives us wisdom, and God gives us parents. Why does God give you parents? To help you, to guide you, to teach you, to show you the right way to go. And we have the Bible that we can read and learn from it. And most of all, we have the Holy Spirit who guides us through our life, helps us to make wise and good decisions. After church today, a young lady came to me and she was very concerned. She was telling me about her friend. And her friend is from Malaysia, been here a few years, and her whole life is a mess. Her whole life is a mess. Just so messy and so upside down that you just don't know how to fix it. And the reason her life is a big mess, she was a Christian girl. Back home she used to go to church all the time. And she came to New Zealand a few years ago and she just made a series of bad decisions, bad choices, and now her life is a mess. Really, really mess. And it's really sad. And it's because she just chose the wrong way in her life. Now she can come back, you know, she needs to humble herself and she needs to confess her faults and her sins to her Lord and start again. But she doesn't need to suffer so much. You know, in life you suffer a lot because of the bad choices that we make. So children, I really hope that you will not be a monkey see, monkey do person. You know, we're not monkeys, we're people, and we're Christians, and we make good decisions for our life. Amen? Amen.